Usa ka tingog, usa ka katawhan. Cebu Catholic Television Network.
Cebuanos Filipinos continue to thrive wherever they are all over the world. Catch a glimpse of their adventures as they explore and experience the world and share experiences with Filipinos living abroad. Join us and travel the world through their eyes with Attorney Divine Marshall Flores live from New Brunswick, Canada, and Tony Ortega live from British Columbia, Canada. This is CCTN International Pinoy Journeys.
Mga igsoon, kumusta? Welcome na usab sa atong tulumanon CCTN International Pinoy Journeys. Ako na usab si Divine Marshall Flores live gikan diri sa New Brunswick, Canada.
Ug ako na usab si Tony Ortega live gikan sa syudad sa City of Toronto, Canada. Maayong buntag Cebu ug maayong gabi Canada.
Yes, maayong adlaw nimo diha Brad Tony ug sa tanan nga mga nagsunod sa atong tulumanon CCTN International Pinoy Journeys. Maayong buntag kaninyong tanan diha sa Pilipinas. Kumusta imong nahimutangan diha sa Toronto, Brad Tony?
Attorney Divine murag og ikumpara nako ang akong lugar sa British Columbia. Pagikan ako sa British Columbia parang mainit pa, pero pagdating ko dito I did not realize that when I arrived in Toronto, negative 12. So nasabi ko, oh my God.
Now.
Oo, kaya yung dinala ako sa in-law ko papunta doon sa sa shopping sa grocery store, sabi ko, oh, malamig because I was just wearing my t-shirt.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Oh. At saka, I don't know kung ano ngayon ang weather dyan sa British Columbia, pero malalaman natin ngayon sa guest natin, Attorney Divine.
Okay. So, karong buntaga, Brad Tony, lain na usab nga guest, no? Journey sa Osaka, Pilipina, ang atong subayon karong buntaga nga atong i-share sa atong mga televiewers. So, live usab ning atong mahinabi karon from British Columbia.
Yeah, British Columbia, Attorney Divine. So wag nating pahabain pa. I-introduce na po natin yung guest natin ngayon. Isa po siyang masasabi natin is a very accomplished individual in British Columbia. Galing siya sa Pilipinas, pumunta sa Canada. So ladies and gentlemen, we would like to introduce to you our guest is no other than Stephanie Tidalgo. Ma'am, good morning.
Hi, good morning. Good evening.
Good evening, good morning.
Good morning po para sa Pilipinas.
Yes, good morning.
Miss Stephanie, can you tell us briefly yung background mo sa Pilipinas, saan ka ipinanganak, saan ka lumaki bago ka pumunta dito sa Canada?
So, I was born in Cebu. My dad is Cebuano. And then they moved to Manila when I was around 3 years old. And then early in my 20s, I met a Filipino-Canadian, and we got married. And then that's when I moved to Canada.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, no isinilang ka sa Cebu, sang banda sa Cebu?
I actually don't know, but I was born in is it Chonghua Hospital?
Hospital,
Right?
in Cebu City.
Yeah.
Okay. Pero 3 years old ka pa nung lumipat kayo sa Manila.
Yes.
So
I can understand some Bisaya, but we don't speak that language or dialect in Manila. Although I can hear my dad and my parents basically they spoke that. And then here in Canada, I have friends who are Bisaya as well. So I hang out with them and I hear them speak, and they talk to me in Bisaya too. Like they're getting comfortable, and I'm actually learning and picking up a few more words, like the matured words. So in beginning, I can only understand like the basic. Of course, when my parents are upset, I kind of know.
Yeah. Yeah, tama. Oo.
Yeah.
Pero nung lumipat ka sa Manila, doon ka na nag-aral, doon ka nag-college?
Yes.
Doon mo tinapos ang kolehiyo sa Manila?
Yes, so I finished nursing there, and then when I moved to Canada, I just had to challenge the exams.
Meaning to say, in the Philippines, registered nurse ka na?
Yes.
Were you able to practice before you moved to Canada?
Yes, I did like 2 years in surgery. So I assist eye doctors for phacoemulsification and LASIK surgery. So I basically work in clinic and operating room.
Okay. And then you met your Canadian husband mo na ngayon. Oo. So, ano bang nangyari? Was it long distance relationship at first?
Yeah, it's so he's a family friend, and that's how we met. And then it was actually a whirlwind romance. And then so it was long distance relationship for a while. He would come and visit me a couple of times a year. And then I applied for there's no fiance visa in Canada. So I directly applied as a spouse. Yeah. And so while that's happening, I was advised to send in your application for nursing in BC, because they said, it's going to take a while, and BC is quite strict. So that's what I did. So before I even landed here, my paper was already submitted. Yeah.
So at the time, how old were you at that time?
I think maybe I was 25 or 26. I can't remember now.
And what
But
year was that?
I moved here 2008.
2008.
Yeah,
Okay.
I arrived 2008 in the summer, and I think that was when it was actually pretty. It was a recession. I think they were having recession that time, because
Yeah.
I remember it was pretty difficult for me to look for a job in operating room. They closed a few operating rooms, so I can't really transfer my skills here, and I didn't have bedside experience in the Philippines, so it was pretty tough. So that was 2008.
Okay.
So, pagdating mo dito, Steph, pagdating mo dito sa Canada, on your very, very first day, what was your reaction?
Well, it was summertime, so for me it was like, wow, it's sunny, but it's nice and cool, and you can feel the fresh air. Like it's so nice. You don't smell the pollution, and so I was very impressed. But then as soon as the sun set, it gets really cold. And I remember it was summertime. If you stand in the shade, you get so cold. So you get out of the shade and you feel like it's warm. So that's something different, right? And syempre yung the wind is really cool. So I like that.
So was that your first time?
Yung sa pagdating mo dito, yung pagkain mo, hindi mo ba na-miss yung on your very first week, first month, hindi mo ba hinahanap yung pagkain Pilipino?
Well, of course I did. And I basically, every Filipino, I eat rice 3 times a day, or breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So back then, I didn't really cook a lot. So I had to learn. So I would do, before, I think we just started having Facebook, but a lot of, my parents didn't have Facebook then. So I would, email my parents, my mom, my aunt, and ask for recipes, right?
Mhm.
I don't know, because there's like particular recipes that I miss or like dishes, right? And I want to get their recipe. So I can always look it up online, but sometimes it's so good to ask your mom, right? Like, well, how did you make this?
Mhm.
So hoping it'll taste the same.
Mm. So when you arrive in Canada, hindi pa kayo kasal at the time?
No, kasal na.
Ah,
So
kasal.
we got married in the Philippines. Yeah.
Okay. And then nung dumating ka in 2008 in Canada, that was your first time na nakapunta sa Canada.
Yes. And before, I've never imagined what Canada is, and I didn't really know where Canada was.
Really?
All I think about is, when I was young, I was imagining, I'd go to the States. Because when I was young, we would travel. I traveled to the US, I think once, and then some parts of Asia. So all I know is US. And I have relatives in US. And then when I I heard about Canada and then learned my, spouse was like, "Oh, I'm Canadian," and so I was like, "Where is that? Canada?" Yeah, I hear about Canada, but you don't imagine what it is, right?
Okay. But at that time, hindi mo pinaplano na foreigner talaga ang magiging asawa mo?
No, well, I don't really think about that because I know, my parents wanted me to be a nurse so that I have an opportunity to go to abroad, right? And earn money. I wasn't making enough when I was a nurse in the Philippines. And also like I wanted to travel. I wanted to try different, location. So I was really, I guess, like I had an ambition to go abroad. Not like I was thinking US because I have cousins in the US, but I didn't realize I would actually go on a different route, like go to Canada.
Steph, based on your profile as I talk to you, alam ko po yung sitwasyon mo sa Pilipinas, may nani, may katulong, may driver. Pagdating mo dito is tayo lahat. Were you not having difficulties in adjusting? On the very first day, you have to cook yourself, you have to wash your everything, and you clean the room. So how did you overcome that struggle?
Well, back in the Philippines, well, I always clean my room, and yeah, and we do have maids, but for me, it is an adjustment, but I always like to have some privacy and doing things on my own. So yeah, if I think about it, it's really nice to have, someone to ask for help, right? When you wake up, you have coffee, you have food, and here when you wake up, you have to do everything yourself. But you adjust to it, and sometimes, well, maybe I'm the type of person that I want to do things on my own. One thing though that I remember when I'm sick, I really wish someone was there, right?
True.
Also, when I was sleep deprived, I really wish someone could hold my baby and so I can take a nap. So those are the things. But, for me, I'm glad that, I was able to raise my kids on our own with the help of grandparents and sometimes like friends or like close relatives for babysitting for a day or in the afternoon. Because I think, that kind of helps build a relationship with the kids, right?
Yeah, you're right. Okay. So when you arrived in Canada in 2008, may recession, what was your first job?
So for a few months, I stayed home. I cleaned the house, and I was really struggling to look for a job because, in my mind, I finished college, nursing, and then all of a sudden, the jobs that are available, like it's not according to what my expectations, right? Like, so it was kind of like hard for me. I would say, kind of disappointing because you're aiming to be a nurse, but then of course you have to wait. And sometimes there's no job available during, that time. And I need to maybe upskill. So the first job that I had was actually a cashier in a small grocery store. And that's where I actually met Tony.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, so for how long kang naging cashier sa grocery?
So I was already pregnant when I was a cashier, when I started the job. So I was only there for maybe 4 months. So, in the beginning, I was the cashier, ringing everything, all the groceries. And then after a few months, when I'm close to like having a baby, my manager or the owner moved me to work in the pharmacy. So, I help the pharmacist fill the blister packs. So, putting all the medications in this booklet for the, I guess, for elderly, because it's already organized, right? So it's easier for them to take their pills on a schedule. So so that's what I did. I put the pills there and then the pharmacist would check.
Mhm. Okay. Pero yung advantage sa mga ganong trabaho is hindi ka mapi-pressure, di ba? Walang pressure.
Yeah, there's no pressure, but you're kind of, it's not like what you're expecting, and at the same time, it pays less, right? Compared to if you are a nurse. But
Yeah.
it's actually a good training for me because, in the beginning, I didn't speak a lot of English. Like I spoke, like I wasn't confident. In the Philippines, in Manila, I spoke mostly Tagalog.
Yeah, yeah.
So, I mean, at school, we speak English because we're required to. But then when I moved here and I was kind of shy, speaking up in English. So when I was a cashier, I spoke, English to a lot of the customers, and it kind of helped me build my confidence. So for me, I think it's actually something good to start, right? And I even volunteered before that. I think I did volunteer work at the hospital, just so to kind of get the feel of how the culture is in Canada. So I did some volunteering and then got a job.
Pero Steph, wala ka bang feeling na para kang alam mo ba yung maganda yung buhay sa Pilipinas, nagtatrabaho ka sa magandang posisyon, pumunta tayo sa Canada, pero ito yung first job natin, were you not having a feeling of yung para bang mayroong nagsi-self-pity ka?
I think sometimes I think that's kind of normal siguro if there's a change, right? Because you're adjusting and you don't know. And like when I was young, I didn't know any better, right? You feel sometimes, siguro lang kakanood ng telenovela, but you're like, like in the Philippines, this is my life. And here in Canada, like what my dad say, it's like, maglaba ka na dyan, right? It's like Canadian, maglaba ka na dyan, maglinis ka na dyan. So, I think in a way, and also you kind of feel homesick. So it's a mix of maybe, self-pity, and at the same time, you feel kind of isolated in the beginning because I moved here and I didn't have any family here except for, my spouse's family and relatives. So I really had to make an effort to make friends, connect to other people, right? Which is sometimes it's quite difficult depending on your personality. So yeah, it's quite an adjustment. And I think that's kind of normal.
True.
Like, I think we need to normalize that. It's an emotion because there's a change, right? But just like, I think it's everyone goes through it, but nobody talks about it.
You're right. And I think it's not only for Filipinos nga nandito sa Canada. I think even yung ibang kababayan natin na nasa abroad na ang trabaho nila kahit professional sa Pilipinas, yung trabaho nila is hindi yung profession nila. I think
Yeah.
yun din yung
Saka, attorney Divine, yung may experience kasi ako na akala ko tayo lang din ang nagsi-self-pity, pero when we already share to people na ganon din yung sitwasyon, parang nare-release yung ano natin na feeling, hindi lang pala ako.
tama. Pareho ba
And pati yung ibang lahi, right? Like when they move here, they move from their country, they're here alone, they have to find their community here. Of course, they're gonna feel, this big adjustment and isolation and feeling homesick. So I'm sure they felt the same way. But I think, it's an emotion. It's a passing emotion, right?
Yeah.
And you can do something about it, right? If you feel like, I can't find this job, or like I can't work for this job that I really want. So what do I do? So you find ways. Oh, how do I get to, let's say, a hospital? Then, you try to do volunteer work. So what I did, I actually asked the hiring, maybe it's an HR person. So I was like, so how am I gonna work? Like you guys are requiring experience, and like, what do first timers do here to get experience? You're already asking for experience, but we just moved here.
You're right.
So they were like, why don't you try long-term care, which is it's aged care. So it's where elderlies live. So, and I was like, okay, like maybe I should try that. And then so when I challenged my exam, I met, Filipinos while reviewing. I asked questions like, these are the things that you need to do. If you need information, you have to look for it, right? You just don't sit and kind of, feel sad about your situation at home. That's not helping.
Yeah.
You need to do something, right? I mean, I guess you can do it, but don't do it for a long time. So, you're allowed to feel sad. You're allowed to feel like, you're helpless. But I think you need to do something after. So I found ways. So I applied for a job, and then it led one thing led to another, connected me to different people. And then I actually got a job, like a regular part-time position in a long-term care. So I can also take care of my kids. Because I had small kids, right? So my priority is to basically, take care of my kids. And then second is work. Because I know later on, when they're all grown up, they're going to be by themselves, right? So, and then I can focus on my career or whatever. So that's what I did.
Mhm. So, yung first experience mo na medyo related sa profession mo, nasa home care ka.
Yes.
Oo, and then at that time, parang part-time lang kasi may mga kids ka pang So ilang oras yung time na nagtatrabaho ka?
So my line then was 6 hours in the evening. So it worked out well. For my family. I mean, I wasn't making a lot, but also if I work more and then put my kids to daycare, then I'm paying money for daycare.
Oh.
I'd rather take care of my kids. So it was only 6 hours, like 3 times a week, sort of. And it's in the evening. So But being in long-term care as an RN and as a new RN is actually quite daunting because there's a lot of responsibilities. You're basically the go-to person of everybody when the manager is not there. So in the evening, manager leaves around 5. And so for the whole building, you're going to be in charge. So, I had these kind of mixed feelings. You're excited, but at the same time, you're very, you're scared. Just like, can I do this? Am I even capable of, working in this environment, right? So there's a lot of that feeling.
Yeah.
Attorney Divine, as yours ko sa kanya, nagtatrabaho siya, may anak siya. Nakakatulong ba na kunyari tayo nagtatrabaho tayo and we have these 2 or 3 kids tapos we decided na kukunin natin yung mga magulang natin coming here to become a tourist visa at the same time magbabantay sa mga anak natin. Do you think nakakatulong to siya? Steph?
Yeah, I think I did that, but they only visited for a month or 2.
Mm-hmm.
So one time my mom, my parents actually came to visit for a short time. And then also my sister, I asked my sister to come over to take care of my daughter, then help me because I was adjusting, right? I was a new mom. I was scared. So, and I know my mom was still working then, and I had a younger sister that she needs to take care of. So she can't really stay here for a long time.
Yeah.
So she sent my sister and she helped me. And it felt so nice because, it feels like you're home at the same time. You have your blood sister is there. So I felt supported.
So at that time, isa pa ang anak mo or dalawa na?
That time, no, just one.
Just one. Pero maliit pa.
Yeah. So when I started my nursing career, I already got pregnant. So it was quite challenging. I was aiming to study again, just to specialize in nursing.
Mm-hmm.
But it was so difficult because when you have a little one, they need a lot of help. And at the same time, I have to work and then I have to study. So it was it's a difficult situation. And I made the decisions I'm going to focus on my kids and this part-time job first, and then I'll just do the studying later on. Yeah. So that's what I did.
Okay.
Step by step, tanong ko siya, tatanungin kita. Galing ka sa pag-ushering, nag-aaral ka, nakapagtrabaho ka, nandoon ka na ngayon sa magandang posisyon. Are you a kind of individual who is willing to help our kababayan na kunyari, sige, tulungan kita, may trabaho dito sa amin. Ikaw ba yung klaseng, yung sa pusong tumulong sa kapwa Pilipino?
Yeah, I think everyone wants to help out, right? So, I mean, if there's opportunity and someone's looking for a job, then, you're the bridge to connect.
True.
I feel for me, it's kind of like something we Filipinos normally do. I think we're kind of, we network, right? So, you have a community here and you ask, do you have a recommendation for, let's say, a hairstylist, right? If it's a Filipino, then go. I think we need to, do that as a community. Mm-hmm. I know we have that crab mentality thing, but I think we should rise above it and also, support our people. So for me, helping out my Filipino kababayan is something that I think it's just natural, right? Sure. Why would you say no?
Yeah, you're right. Okay.
Attorney Divine, I am asking this question kasi for the information of everybody, especially to our viewers. It was Stephanie is an instrument sa trabaho ng misis ko ngayon.
Ah.
So, landed a job because of her. So,
Mm-mm.
Saka nakita kami, dahil baka may bakante sa posisyon sa trabaho mo.
Oh, kasi pareho silang
Pwede mo bang ipasok si auntie mo? Sabi niya, kuya, wala pa ngayon. I did not realize when we met her again the following week or 3 days after, sabi niya, kuya, we were hiring. So,
That's good.
inasok niya agad, tinulungan niyang makapasok. And I'm very happy and I am very thankful na nakilala ko rin si Stephanie. Kasi ngayon, my wife is now working full-time there at saka my wife really loves her work. So sabi niya, oh, this is it.
Oh, that's good.
She
Okay.
liked it.
So, nahigayon na, Brad Tony, mo commercial break o nata. And then, when we come back, we will discuss yung journey na ni Steph. Paano niya nakuha yung magiging nurse talaga dito sa Canada. So we will discuss about that journey. So stand by, mubalik ta, humaniining pipila ka mga pahinomdom.
Discover the beauty of the Philippines. With Philippine Airlines, the country's flag carrier. The airline that lets you feel the warmth of the nation. Mabuhay!
Sa atong tulumanon CCTN International Pinoy Journeys, of course, atong ipadayon ang pagpaminaw sa journeys sa atong kababayan nga ni anak karon diri sa Canada nga usa ka registered nurse nga si Stephanie Tidalgo. Brad Tony, kaganina ang atong nabiyan nga pangutana is yung proseso gaano kaya katagal bago niya nakuha yung license as a registered nurse dito sa Canada?
Yeah, siguro challenging paminawon gud ni nato kay daghan ra batag viewers nga nagtan-aw karon.
Yeah.
Nya mo ra reklamo sa atong mga nurses karon who are now here in Canada. How do they get their license and how long will they get the license and what are the processes? So hopefully nakakatulong to, so viewers natin nakakatulong sa kanila na hindi madali. Hindi lang natin pupulutin yung lisensya tapos magtatrabaho na tayo bukas. Stephanie, can you share with us your experiences on how to get your license?
Yeah.
So with my experience since this happened 2008, a lot has changed. So when I applied, I submitted my application form before I actually arrived here. So tumatakbo na yung papeles. And then when I came here, I had to schedule my exam. And when I got the exam, so I think I got the exam the same year. But then, unfortunately, the first time I took the exam, I actually didn't pass. I was only reviewing using like a reviewer book. And that time, I was pregnant. So, you know, there are times na tinatamad ka mag-aral. Wala kang energy. Like, I was always sleepy on my first trimester. So it was very challenging. So I just did like reading this book reviewer. So the second time I applied again. So I took the exam, or actually I applied for there's like a review class. So 5 sessions I had to pay like someone, and then I met other Filipinos who are also at the same boat, trying to get their license, right? So I connected with them. We studied. We had like a weekly or a few times a week review sessions, and then took the exam. So I took the exam again the following year, so 2008, early 2008 or mid-year. And then I got an agency nurse job late 2009. So it's like, a year or two, right? So if I didn't actually fail the exam, I could have worked a little bit earlier. But also, like first time you fail the exam, it's okay. You can try again, right? So, luckily, one of the Filipinos I met through the review, she was doing agency nurse. So agency nurse, it works differently. They're not hired directly by employers. So there's an agency, and then the agency would send them to different facilities or long-term care.
So mayroong third party.
Yeah. So I was able to work in different sites. It was really difficult because you go to different facility or different sites that you don't know anyone, right? So I think you as a nurse, we have this, and even Filipinos, we're adaptable. We kind of, find ways. Kung saan ka ilalaglag, like you just need to survive. So I think it's like built in. So I went to different facilities. I worked there as a casual basis. So it's not a lot of money because it really depends on if I get called, right? Yeah. And
so parang on call?
Yeah, on call. So sometimes it's just an hour or even so the shift starts, let's say at 7 o'clock. You get a call at 8 and they're like, can you go to this place? And I'm like, okay. Then you go and then you're kind of trying to catch up, right? Because normally the start of the shift is you get your report and then you start giving medication for breakfast. Patients are getting their, breakfast, so you give their breakfast medications. So imagine if you have 27 patients and then you don't know them, so you only have a photo and then you look at them and it's like, is this person? So you ask, right? You need to ask the care aides or anybody. And so that was the grind that I did. And I remember vividly my first shift. It was a night shift. After my shift, I actually vomited in the car.
What?
I was so nervous. And I was like, yeah, it was, I had anxiety of what if I made a mistake? What if this, what if that? So, and then after that, you just, you shake your body and you're like, oh, this is done. I've tried this, so move on. But yeah, as a new nurse in a foreign country with, it was quite difficult, but it's just everything new is difficult.
Yeah, true.
Stephanie, sa palagay mo is, yun bang mga challenges na na-experience mo dito, looking back, nurse ka sa Pilipinas? Ano mo sa palagay mo is really struggling or is just complying what are the requirements needed for you to get the license? Kasi ibang bansa to. So is it really a challenge or is it difficult on how to get it?
It is a challenge, and at the same time, it's you need to make sure that you're within the scope. So whatever you studied at school, right? It has to be the same as, here, the standards here in Canada. So in the Philippines, we depend a lot on what the doctor has to say, right? So you follow the doctor, right? And here in Canada, it's quite different because you're actually very autonomous. So we have our own autonomy, whereas you do the things within your scope, and you also kind of support, let's say care aides, you kind of help them and direct them, right? If they don't know what to do, then, you tell them what they need to do. So it's, in a way, it's a different experience. I think that's the only, that's one thing that popped in my head. I didn't really have a lot of experience in the Philippines, especially in bedside. So maybe in bedside, there are things that are similar. But here we often challenge doctors too. So it's part of your role as a nurse because, you're taking care of your patients and you need to advocate for them. So if you think that, the doctor might have, like ordered something and you don't agree, right? Because sometimes the patient needs something else. You kind of advocate for that. And also there's new doctors, right? They're still new. And sometimes there's a lot of experienced nurses, especially in the hospital, and they know the symptoms well, right? And it's just a matter of communicating that professionally to the doctor. So in the Philippines, I would say we don't have enough voice. Here in Canada, you actually have a lot of that control, right? And of course, you still have to follow doctor's orders, but it's you collaborate with them. And there's other course discipline that works with you, like physiotherapist, OT.
Okay. So,
Attorney Divine, na-imagine ko, Attorney Divine ba? Kasi nurse na siya that time. How do you see, how did you see yourself during COVID time?
Well, initially, of course, you're very scared, right? Because we don't know what that could affect, how it will affect ourselves and our family. So, of course, I think it's normal for everybody to be scared, especially for the unknown. What was the question again? It's like how.
Paano mo na plaster yung sarili mo yung the time sa COVID? Yung sitwasyon natin doon, ang sitwasyon natin sa hospital is very tayo, parang para bang scared po tayo lahat.
nakakatakot.
Yeah. I don't work in the ward. I work in the community. So I actually see patients at home, and here in my city, where my team was actually designated to follow up COVID patients who went home. So they're still infectious, and we still need to follow them up at home just to make sure that they're okay, right? So of course we're scared. Initially, we had to see them outside of their house. So we would be looking over their window, right? Are you okay? Just to give them support, right? And as we know more about COVID-19, we have all these education. We have to wear our PPE. So we actually go inside the house and we perform treatments. So it is quite scary, but we are mandated to get our vaccines. We are also, we have our protection, and there's always, we defer some of the treatments or the assessment, right? Like when we're auscultating the lungs and they have to breathe in and out, it's very close. So we had to defer that. I'm sure it's quite difficult for the the nurses who work in,
Hospital.
in the hospital, like bedside and ICU, emergency, right? Because they're there, and they had to wear their PPE
All the
like
time.
the whole shift. For
Yeah.
us, with us community, as soon as we are done with our visit, then we remove it and properly dispose it, right? And then drive back to our office.
Okay. So, after ka nagtrabaho as agency nurse, anong next?
Oh, so after the agency nurse job, one of the long-term care that I worked in, there was a nurse there who, kind of talked to me like, hey, why don't you apply here? We have a part-time line. And then the manager also asked. So I submitted my resume, and then that's when I started working for that facility. And I worked there for 7 years.
Okay. And then as full-time na.
In the beginning, it was part-time. And then when my kids are a lot bigger, I took a full-time position.
So, hospital yon?
No, it's a long-term facility. So it's aged care. So it's where a lot of our elderlies that are needing more help, that's where they are.
Okay. And after that, yung work mo ngayon, iba na hindi na sa...
Yeah. So I applied for a community nurse. So it's a specialized nursing. So I did a bit of schooling before I actually got the job. So you can't just apply for specialized areas. You need to go to school for it. So if I'm working in community, I cannot work in the ER. So I have to apply and go to school for a couple of months. And then same thing, if I want to do NICU, I have to take the course again. So sometimes, basically with the course for the community, I was hired, so they paid for it. So they had a posting that they're willing to put the applicants to schooling. So it was an opportunity for me to, switch from long-term care to community.
For how long was the schooling at that time?
For community, I think it's 2.5 months.
Okay. It's not that.
For other areas like emergency and, NICU, ICU, it's longer. I think for NICU, from what I can remember, it's like 18 months.
But you are more comfortable now being a community nurse.
Yeah, I actually enjoyed it because I see where, like the elderlies, before they actually go to long-term care, I see where they live, how their life, how they live their life, when they were still independent, right? They have more independence. Because once they move to long-term care, they have to follow a schedule. They're basically getting help from other people, whereas at home, they do things on their own, or there would be a worker who would come to their house and help them sometimes if they can.
Ang community nurse ba is, kunyari magkakilala tayo, pupunta ka sa amin, wala pa kayong restriction?
You mean if I'm going to...
Kunyari, ako, masakitin ako, pupunta ka sa amin, we need a community nurse, kilala tayo, wala bang restriction? Pwede ka bang mag-serve sa akin kasi kilala ko yun?
Okay. Yeah, for nurses, it goes against our professionalism, right? Because I know you. So if, let's say, for example, I work in the community, and then your name comes up, then I should actually pass that to another nurse.
Hindi ka pala pwede.
So,
Ay,
because there's conflict of interest, right? Because I know you. So, sometimes maapektuhan yung working relationship, right? Because, they want to avoid na baka, I do more for you than for other patients. Because there's always that, right? If you guys are familiar to each other, then
yeah.
that might happen. So, that's part of professionalism for nurses.
So yung mga community nurse hired by the Canadian government?
Yeah, so community. Although there are private companies who provides nursing service at home, and that's like, let's say, wound care. So you can hire those private too. But our job is a bit different because my team actually assists the transition of patients from emergency and acute ward to home. So if they think that, we need a nurse to go to their house to, assist them with wound care, right? Stable naman sila sa hospital, right? And then they just need wound care. So they will discharge them home, and then we will go see them sa bahay and teach them to do self-care if they can or not. We would go and do the wound care. And sometimes they just need let's say medication management or pain management. Also, we do a lot of chronic disease education. So sometimes they get a new diagnosis of diabetes and they're not sure what to do. So we assist them in that to do self-management, because, it's their health, right? They should know how to manage that.
Yeah.
They should know what to do, when to ask for help, right? So that they wouldn't end up back in the hospital right away.
Okay.
So
ilang taon na yung mga anak mo nung nakapag full-time ka na?
I think they're in grade school. My daughter, I think, was around 7, and then my son was, a little bit younger, around
So ngayon,
4.
how old are they now?
So my daughter is 14 years old and my son's 11.
Okay. So makapag full-time ka na talaga?
Yeah. So my daughter's in high school, grade 9.
Okay. So Bradton, meron ka pang katanungan before tayo hingi ng parting message ni Stephanie?
Ano daw yung ginagamit niya? Kasi dalawa ng anak niya, pero mukhang dalaga pa rin siya.
Oo, mukhang dalaga pa rin.
Ginagamit?
Ginagamit.
I think it's
Ano secret?
probably I should thank my ancestors for my genes.
Sa genes talaga yan.
Yeah, may kasabihan nga sila dito, Asian don't raisin, I think that's what it was. But I think it's more like just, trying to eat a healthy food and also moisturize, making sure you put SPF.
True. Uh-huh.
I don't do a lot. Maybe soon I'll start doing a lot of treatments. But usually it's just moisturizer and SPF.
Pero how often kayo bumibisita sa Pilipinas with your kids and husband?
So when I was younger, actually, I think it took a while before I went back to the Philippines because, it was expensive, right? And then maybe when the kids are a lot bigger, we would go every 3 or 2 years. So it gets really expensive because imagine the ticket would be, then was around like 700 to 1,000 plus. And then if there's 4 of you, right? And some families, there's 6 of them. That's a lot of money, right? And then when you get there, of course, you know, you want to go to the beach, you want to treat people. So it adds up. And then, of course, you're still paying for your bills here while you're away.
Yeah, that's the problem.
Pero, Stefan, coming to Canada, sabi nila, marami daw pumunta sa Canada pero hindi makapunta because of the qualification standards set by the government. Is coming to Canada is a humbling experience, or did you not regret coming to Canada?
Can you say that again? They're
Coming to Canada is maraming pumunta dito sa Canada pero hindi sila makapunta because hindi sila mag-qualify. Pero masasabi mo ba na coming to Canada is a humbling experience, or did you not regret coming to Canada?
it is a humbling experience because, you know, you have to actually start from the ground up, and you have to do things on your own. I mean, you know, you're basically like the things that you don't normally do in the Philippines, like doing a lot of this DIY just to save money. Like if let's say you need your bedroom painted, right? In the Philippines, it's cheaper, so you can ask someone or one of the relatives or carpenter, you know, right? You can help. Here, you have to pay a lot. So if you want to save money, you can YouTube it, how to do it, and then you do it yourself, right? So I think in a way it's humbling, but at the same time, you actually learn how to be self-sufficient. I'm so big for that. I think that's part of my personality, you know, trying to be independent and being on my own, doing things for myself. I mean, of course, for other things, you need to ask for help. Like, I don't think I can do everything. But as much as I can, right? I want to do things for myself. So for skill wise, sometimes, yeah, you feel disappointed because, you know, let's say you were a doctor or attorney in the Philippines, but the time you come here, there's so many barriers. Like you need to challenge the exam or actually go back to school for it.
Yeah.
So it's just a matter of asking yourself, how much do you really want this, right? And, you know, are you okay to go back to the Philippines? And for some people, that's okay. I mean, I think you should consider trying it out first and see how it goes. And if you don't like it, you know, go back. And I think you shouldn't be ashamed of that. It's not like, you know, you failed. It's just like, it's your choice. And I know a lot of Filipinos probably feel, oh, you know, they might say, oh, hindi ka na tagumpay or something. But, you know, it's just other people's opinion. I think you need to focus on what you really want. So if you really want to pursue being a doctor, or let's say if you just want to be a nurse, it doesn't matter, right? Or try to do other things, then that's a good opportunity. It's going to be a big investment, I'm sure, because you need to take a loan, a student loan, or, you know, even a loan in the Philippines. But it will pay off once you actually, you know, start working. And I think, well, the standard of living here is high compared to even other parts of the U.S. So you have to consider, do you really, you know, want to stay in Canada, or you just want to go back to the Philippines, or you're fine, you're willing to work, you know, work hard. Of course, you can't just get money here. You actually need to
Work hard.
Yeah, you need to work hard. You need to overtime. You need to miss some of the Filipino parties just to make money. But, you know, it is for you. It is for a better opportunity. And of course, if you have kids, you're going to give them the option, right? If your kids would like to go back to the Philippines, well, yeah, that's something to also consider. But at least they're here. They want to go to school here or go back to the Philippines. So you've given them that opportunity. So they have a choice too, right?
Okay.
So I would say, if you really need to think where you want to go and how much hard work you're willing to put in.
Okay. So lastly, Brad Tony, yung parting message mo, Steph, para sa mga nanonood natin ngayon.
Before that, Attorney Divine, I'd like to thanks para sa anak ko for giving me the opportunity to stay here, and I'm actually in the house of my daughter. Binibisita ko yung apo ko, and I'd like to thank Seco de la Pierre and Shama. Congratulations pala sa kanila, nagkakaapo na ako. At saka,
So
I am also inviting viewers for the Filipinas and British Columbia. I am inviting you, please join us as we are about to enshrine the image of San Pedro Calungsod at Saint Monica Parish on April 19, 6 o'clock in the evening Friday. This it will be headed by Bishop Miller of the Archdiocese of Cebu, and hopefully Bishop Miller of the Archdiocese of Vancouver, and hopefully Archbishop Jose Palma from the Archdiocese of Cebu. Please come with us, join the celebration for the enshrinement of San Pedro Calungsod. And for the viewers, Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao, we are hoping na nakapagbibigay kami sa iyo ng inspirasyon sa mga experiences sa guest namin ngayon, lalo na kay Stefano. And Stephanie, thank you for saying yes for us.
yeah. So your parting message, Steph.
I can't really think of anything, but I would say, you need to basically identify what your goals are and really, plan. And I would say there's going to be a lot of, disappointments. Your confidence will be low at times, but I think you should just need to go for it and continue. You also need to know or have your tribe, because they're there to support you, right? You need to find good friends who are going to be there to encourage you to continue. So I think that's something that's really important. I've found my tribe here, and I'm so happy, and I feel blessed that I found them. And even though I'm so far away from family, I feel like I'm still, I'm at home. I have my family here too. So, stay dedicated and have, your community.
Okay. So Steph, thank you very much for your time and for sharing your journey. I know, Brad Tony, na yung mga kababayan natin na mga nurse na nagplanong pumunta dito, paano nila makuha. Ngayon, iba na yung proseso. Medyo mas mataas pa yung
Yeah.
mahaba yung process.
But I think our union and the government are trying to, solve this shortage of nurses, because we do have shortages. So that's something good, right? It's hope na the process will get streamlined. And I have friends who went through the whole thing, and yeah, it is long, but after that program, they were easily, like, they transitioned easily, right? I think for me, I didn't have enough experience and skill. It was quite difficult, but then for them, they were able to go to the hospital and have that opportunity. Yeah. So I think that's a good refresher, right? Of course, you're going to have a different kind of patients to take care of, not like back home, it's different. Like our culture is different. Yes. Here it's also different. So I think, that's going to be a good opportunity for them.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Steph. And Brad Tony, your parting message. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Yeah, it's nice meeting you too. And thank you so much, good Tony.
Yeah. So hopefully next time, the same time on the same station, Thank you very much. This is Tony Ortega, live from the city of Toronto.
Okay, ako sab si Divine Marshall Flores. Daghang salamat sa iyong pagpaminaw o pagpakiguban ka na mo. Hantod sa sunod higayon, dinhi lang sa iyong paboritong tulumanon, CCTN International Pinoy Journeys. Have a nice day, everyone. God bless.
Okay.